Alright. This is all just amateur research that I've done on the internet. And I would also like any more information any of you have on this topic. Some of you leave really great comments. I often don't respond to your comments because I agree with them, and all I can really say in response would be okay or I agree or something like that. So yeah, leave good comments. I'll post this on my Facebook too. Anyway, this is what I've gleaned of Middle Eastern politics right now. And I actually think it is very important to focus on everything that's going around the world, because the politics, our economies, and humanity in general is now more global. So we should really pay attention to everything that happens all over the world. But yeah, when it comes to Middle East politics, there seems to be two big factions. And when I say Middle Eastern, it's actually more than the Middle East. It's the entire Arab world, which encompasses the Middle East and North Africa. North Africa has been Arab for like a long time because it got taken over by armies from the Middle East like a thousand or so years ago. I don't know the time. It was just a long time ago. In fact, that's when they took over Spain too. Spain used to be Islamic for a while before it went back to Europe. So yeah, when I say Middle Eastern politics, I really mean the Arab world, so North Africa and the Middle East. The two names, though, to look out for in talking about this, especially in the North Africa region of the Arab world, is the Ba'ath Party and the Muslim Brotherhood. Although the Ba'ath Party is also very big in the Middle East. Syria right now, if I'm not mistaken, is controlled by the Ba'ath Party. And here's a brief summary of the two. The Muslim Brotherhood, very simple. They were founded by a professor in Egypt, and they're basically theocrats. They want a theocratic government completely controlled by Islamic theocracy. If you want something similar that we have in America, America has dominionism, which is basically the same thing, but with Christianity. Dominionists believe that Christians should form a Christian dominion or kingdom on earth, which is basically just a Christian theocracy. The Ba'ath Party, on the other hand, is they're non-democratic state socialists who reject plurality, which I guess is them rejecting pluralism is implied by them being undemocratic. So undemocratic state socialists. They're secular too, which is a very important part, which is what puts them in conflict with the Muslim Brotherhood, is that Ba'aths tend to be way more secular. If you don't know what secularism means, secularism is basically the idea that the church and state should be separate. And stuff like that. And I have to point out that they're undemocratic state socialism because Western socialism embraces pluralism and democracy and stuff like that in elections, unlike the Ba'ath version. And also the Ba'ath version isn't communistic because it still doesn't aim to overthrow capitalism entirely. Now also, because the Western version, when we say socialism in the West, we usually refer to democratic socialism, which is still liberal in the sense that liberal countries have capitalism and democracy. Capitalist democracy that's pretty much liberalism, as well as lots of freedom of speech. So Western version of socialism is liberal. Also, democratic socialism doesn't wish to overthrow capitalism entirely, hence why it's still liberal. So yeah, the Ba'ath Party, single state socialism, or single party socialism, no democracy and all that. So it's still pretty totalitarian, but it's secular. That's really the only plus side to Baathism, is that it's secular, and it seems at least a little bit more socially progressive, or at least relatively more socially progressive than the Muslim Brotherhood. So these are the two factions. There's probably also liberal factions though in the Middle East. When I say the Middle East, I mean the Arab worlds, like the Middle East, North Africa. We're fighting for liberal societies, i.e. ones with multiple parties and freedom of speech and all that, and not a theocracy. So something more like a Western country, or the Western world has. So yeah, if any of you want to add any more, say so in the comment section, but just want to point, just a little intro of what I gleaned from the Middle Eastern situation, is that it's currently a fight between those who want theocracy and those who want single-party socialism. And like what as far as I can tell, this in Syria, the Assad faction wants the Ba'athist system, whereas a lot of the people rebelling want the more theocratic Muslim Brotherhood faction. But of course, some of them might be the liberals too. From what I gather, there are a lot of liberals in the Syrian rebellion going on right now, and that they may actually be trying actively to keep the theocrats out. And in fact, from what I gather, there was a theocratic faction that was fighting on the side of Assad and the Ba'athist government, because Assad apparently helped the theocratic faction. It's Hamas from Lebanon. Assad helped them out in the past, and they're trying to return the favor. So Hamas sent a huge infantry wave in, which, by the way, I wish that news reports on the civil war, and the unrest had more battle statistics. This is how many casualties there were. Here's the maneuvers that they used. Go in more depth in the fighting, so we can get the strategy and all that. Anyway, yeah. That's the thing, though, is that it's really complicated, especially when you pile on the whole Shiite-Sunni divide within the theocratic part and the Muslim part. It makes it even more of a pain. Which, side note, the whole Shiite-Sunni difference seems really petty. I mean, from what I gather, the only difference between Shiite and Sunni is who they believe should have taken over Islam after Muhammad died. That's really nothing to fight over for. Maybe that's something to argue over, but to separate your society based on this little... See, that's the problem with dogma. Little dogmatic religion. Little differences become big deals. Which is ridiculous. They shouldn't be fighting. They shouldn't even separate themselves as Shia and Sunni. They should just all be Muslims, and then just some of them have different ideas of what happened. Anyway, yeah, that's what I've basically gleaned. But I'd like it if any of you could inform me more of what's going on.